Jai Mahamaya Ki Jai. We'll continue with the completion of chapter 34 in the Devi Bhagavatam, retold by Ramesh, Menon. If you recall, Janamajaya had just said, my Lord Vasistha was Brahma's own son, and he was Nimi's Kalaguru. Nimi performed such a profound yagya. Still, they were both prey to anger and could not forgive each other. One cursed his Yajamana and the other his guru. Vedavyasa answered, smiling, who in these three worlds has conquered anger? I tell you, O king, not Brahma, Vishnu, or Shiva is a perfect master of wrath. The gurus sway all beings, the gunas sway all beings, from the gods down to the lowliest beasts. Only the nirguna Brahman, the eternal, unmanifest spirit, is truly above the passions. So also the Parashakti, the Divine Mother. Only the man who realizes the primal truth shall find liberation. He shall be set free from the circle of births and deaths, the realm of samsara. King Janamajaya, knowledge is of two kinds. The first kind of gain is known by the intellect and perishes with the intellect. The second, however, is the gain born of intuition and of feeling deep in the heart and brain. This knowledge is awakened when a man meets a Satguru. O Kshatra, merely speaking of a lamp cannot dispel darkness. So too, mere intellectual wisdom cannot dispel the darkness in our souls, nor set us free from the bondage of the human condition. Karma yoga, that does some good to others, that is selfless work of mercy, is the brightest fruit of the tree of knowledge. The hearts and minds of all the living are restless, uncontrolled. Men live like slaves to their wild hearts, their desires, their angers, and their greed. Depending on the mixture of the gunas in their natures, sattva, rajas, and tamas, they are good, average, or evil men. Lust, rage, and greed spring from the mind. When the mind itself is brought under control, these no longer torment a man, and he becomes contented within himself and seeks peace in his own heart. But then reality is complex and mysterious, and not the gods can fathom it. Some men are naturally serene, while others are quick to rage. Thus Yayati did not curse his guru Sukra when Sukracharya cursed him to old age, but Nimi did not have such restraint. So too, in the olden times, the Hayas destroyed the Bhargavas of Bhrigu's clan entirely in wrath. Eagerly, Janamajaya asked, who were the Hayas, Muni? What did they do to the sons of the Maharishi Bhrigu? How could noble Kshatras kill Brahma and his priests? There must surely have been some reason for it. Vedavyasa began his next tale slowly. In the most ancient times, in the Hayhaya clan, there was a king named Kartaviryajuna. It was told he was Vishnu's Amsavatara, and he was a mighty queen, 1,000-armed and powerful, even by the norms of that time, when all men were godlike. This king was a devout king and given to performing all kinds of yagyas. The brahmanas of the Bhargava clan were his priests, and he lavished gifts and wealth on them. The Bhargavas grew wealthy by the king's munificence. Indeed, they became the richest men in all the land, for Kartaviryajuna gave away most of his possessions to them. When the king died, his heirs were reduced to near pennilessness, while the Bhargavas were rich as kings of the earth. Now there came a time when the Hayas needed to perform a sacrifice to restore them to their former glory, but they had no gold to give out, no jewels to gift the priests who sat over their yagyas. The Kshatras decided to ask the Bhagavas for some wealth. They sent a messenger to their fathers Kartavaryajuna's former priests, begging for some gold and jewels with which they could conduct their yagya. The Bhagavas heard the messenger out and then sent him back, saying they would bring the wealth themselves to their yagmanas. By now, the once austere and devout Bhagavas had become blinded with wealth and its lust. They feared the warlike Hayas and felt the Kshatras would plunder all their gold they owned. In some panic, those sons of Bhrigu dug deep pits under their homes and hid their gold there. But they had so much that not all of it could be buried. There were thousands of common Brahmanas who were the Bhagavas' dependents. The frenzied Bhagavas now gave their treasures to these for safekeeping until danger had passed and fled to the mountains with their families. At first, the Hayas waited patiently for their father's priests to arrive with the gold they needed. But when months passed and there was no sign of the Bhagavas, the Hayas went themselves to where the sons of Bhrigu lived, thinking that perhaps they had been haughty by sending a messenger. They found that the Bhagavas' opulent settlement was deserted. The truth dawning on them, the Hayas heard the Bhagavas had buried some of their wealth under the ground. The Kshatras engaged a force of men and dug up the wealth. They unearthed such a treasure trove that they were astounded. The Kshatras began to realize none of the wealth their fathers and grandfathers had given these Bhagavas had ever been used for the yagyas they were meant for. Instead, the sons of Bhrigu had hoarded it all and kept it for themselves. Those Hayas were enraged that the Bhagavas had deceived them and their sires before them for generations. After all, the gold the sons of Bhrigu now enjoyed once belonged to their fathers, who was Lord of the earth. The Hayas rounded up all the Brahmanas who lived nearby as dependents of the Bhagavas. With them, they uncovered more wealth, incredible amounts of it. In fury, they slaughtered those Brahmanas, letting a river of blood flow. Now those Kshatras hardly cared any more for the wealth they needed or the yagyas they meant to perform. They were blind with anger. They wanted dark revenge on the sons of Bhrigu who had played them so false. The Hayas hunted the Bhagavas across the earth. They found them on remote mountains and in hearts of deep jungles, and wherever they found them, they killed them without mercy. When the munis of the ashrams in which some of those Bhagava women had hid saw this savagery, they cried, "Stop this crime. You will pay for this dreadful sin someday, Kshatras." But the Hayas, who stood panting and bloody from head to foot, replied, "Munis, you have pure hearts and don't know the half of why we are doing this. These Bhagavas are cheats and thieves. They are treacherous and their clan must be extinguished, for it is a curse upon the earth." The Munis said in wonder, "What terrible thing have they done that you kill them and even their children and their women?" Their fathers deceived our fathers for generations, bleeding them of all of the Hayas' wealth. They took from us without mercy, and instead of using all our gold to perform yagyas, they hoarded it, until the Kshatras of our royal house were left impoverished and these wretches and their sons were richer than kings. We needed desperately to perform a yajna and begged the sons of Brigu for some gold. We only wanted to borrow it, and even said we would pay a fourth as interest to use the gold that was our father's once. But these would not part with a coin. They buried their treasures under their houses, gave away much of it to their own brahmanas, and fled. The Bhargavas are meant to be holy men, above being attached to wealth, but they have become common users. They have betrayed our trust, deceived our fathers for generations. It is wealth's very nature that she leaves those that hoard her. The Bhargavas deserve killing, O rishis. Their women deserve to be made barren, so that very line of the sons of Brigus is extinguished. So saying, the fierce Hayas hunted the Bhargavas. Woman, again, in terror, those women climbed the Himalayas and hid in secret caves, trembling and sobbing. Ah, my lord, it is the lust for gold that makes men murderers, why they kill their own fathers, mothers, wives, and sons for the sake of wealth. When greed takes a man's heart, he will do anything to get what he wants. Men abandon their lives, their very souls, for the sake of greed. And the wise know that greed is a more deadly enemy than even pride, lust, or anger. What happened between your own ancestors, the Pandavas and the Kauravas, happened only because of the greed for kingdom and wealth. And they fought a war between them that destroyed the power of the race of Kshatras forever and ended an age. The king said, how did the Bhargava wives overcome their fear? Did they escape the hunting Hayas? On the sacred Himalayas, the Bhargava wives fashioned an earthen image of the Devi Gauri and worshipped her. They were determined that they would die with the Devi's name on their lips before the Hayas found them and put them to the sword. Those women ate nothing but starved themselves so they could die. One day soon, the Devi Jagadambika appeared to them in their dreams and said, a son of mine shall be born to one of you from my subtle Amsa. He will save you from fear. With that, the goddess disappeared. When the women awoke from their sleep, they felt deeply refreshed. Fear had left them magically, and a great faith arose in their hearts that they would be saved. Then one of the Bhargava women confessed she was pregnant. She glowed in her conception. Day by day, her pregnancy advanced upon the mountain. But one day, some of the other Bhargava women ran screaming into the cave they had sheltered in. The Hayas have found us. They are coming to kill us. Devi, save us, cried the pregnant woman, and ran out of the cave, but it was too late. The Kshatras had arrived, their swords drawn. They saw the woman trying to escape and roared after her, she is with child. As the woman ran from one corner to the cave to another, panting her eyes like a hunted deer, she felt a great disturbance in her belly. It is told the child within felt his mother's anguish and came bursting out of her body. From her thigh, bright as another sun, and with just a glimpse of that brilliant child, the Hayas became blind. Their screams ran through the crisp mountain air, and all their power fell away from them in a moment. I have heard that the darkness fell from those proud Ksatras' hearts who had made themselves such brutal avengers. Their swords fell out of their hands, and they began to call out to the Bhargava woman piteously, Mother, save us. We shall be your slaves from now on. Ah, forgive us, Devi. We were blinded by arrogance. We did not realize what we did. Forgive us, Mother. Give us back our sight, for to be blind is worse than dying. Give us back our sight and live in peace with your sons. The enmity between us ends here. Never shall we sin again. The Bhargava woman said to those Kshatriyas, "It is not I who cursed you, Hayhayas, and it is not in my power to revoke that curse. My son spent 100 years in my womb, hidden, while you hunted our clan savagely. He is no common child, but born by the Devi Bhagavati's grace. He knew all the Vedas and Sastras, even while he was inside me. My Arava is the one who can reverse your sight. Ask him humbly, and he may forgive you your genocide against our people." The Hayhayas prostrated themselves on the rocky ground before the bright Muni, Arava. They begged him, "Have mercy on us, great one. Give us back our sight, for our hearts see clearly again." That wonderful Bhargava studied those supine warriors for a moment. He saw that they did not lie, but were truly contrite. He said gently to them, "Go back to your homes, Kshatriyas, and let your eyes have back their sight. Your blindness has served its purpose. In terror, your hearts have learned to see the truth." The Hayhayas went home to their kingdom again, and it is said that they were given some gold by the Muni Arava to conduct their yagya. Peace was restored to the sacred land once more. Heinous murdering no longer stalked its days and nights. So said Vedavyasa to King Janamejaya. Jai Mahamaya ki jai, Vishveshvarimati ki jai, Bole Baba ki jai.